Hello, my name is Paul Cobb, Life Scout with Troop 72, located in Fairborn, Ohio, and sponsored by First Presbyterian Church. I am here today to interview Miss Horton about her husband for an Eagle Scout project that is in association with the Fairborn Veterans Memorial Project and the Veterans Forces Project located on the campus of Wright State University. Would you please introduce yourself to the viewing audience?
I'm Mrs. Marcia Horton, former music teacher with Fairborn Schools, and I was married to Michael for 25 years before he passed away.
Where and when was your husband born?
He was born in 1946 in Springfield, Ohio.
Did he have any siblings he told you that were in the service, and of which branch?
No, never had any siblings, but he did have several relatives. His dad was in the Navy, and I think it was during World War II. He lost an uncle during World War II who was in the Army, I believe. That's about as far as I know. His grandfather, his mother's father, was in World War I in the Army.
What was Mr. Horton doing before he entered into the military?
He was going to college, first at Miami University, and then he went to the Ohio State University in veterinary school. And then his last year, he was commissioned to be in the Air Force. And he was commissioned as a captain.
Was your husband enlisted or drafted into the Air
Neither.
Force?
He voluntarily was commissioned after vet school.
Did your husband tell you if he received any specialized training?
Yes, and he went to there were 3 special schools to advance toward getting your next rank. So before he became a major, he went to whatever that school was, and then before lieutenant colonel, and then Air War College was the last one before he made colonel, full colonel.
Did your husband serve during any time of war?
Well, he was active during Vietnam, but he was never called to go to Vietnam. But he was called up, he was in the reserve at the time, and called up to go to Desert Storm, Desert Shield. But he was assigned to England Air Force Base in Louisiana.
What was your husband's duties, since, as you said, he did not serve on the front lines?
First he was with animals before the Air Force did away with the veterinary corps. And then he worked in research. And then he went on to work in public health and environmental health, and I guess he finished in public health.
Do you know of any friendships your husband had during his time of service?
Yes, there were many long-time friendships, and he made many, especially during his time in England Air Force Base during Desert Storm, Desert Shield.
When your husband was active duty and deployed to other bases, how was communication between you and his family? Was it constant, sporadic, or sometimes in between?
It was constant. That was before cell phones, of course, and it was letter writing and calling occasionally.
And, uh, do you know what your husband was doing during his off-duty time?
He loved to do park volunteering, where he would try to eradicate the bush honeysuckle, which is prolific in the parks. And he had several helpers, and he enlisted the help of the Juniorazzi at Fairborn. And they would go out, and he would just work them. Oh my gosh! And but it was a big help to the park system.
Right. How was your husband welcomed by his home, family, friends, and community after his service?
Oh, very much so. When he came home from his service, initially they said it was just going to be a month of active duty. It turned out to be 6.5 months of active duty in Louisiana, and so we had a big homecoming welcome for him.
How did Mr. Horton readjust to everyday life after returning from service in the Air Force?
It took a while, and it took a while for our cats to acclimate with him being home again.
What were some life lessons that he told you he learned while in his service of the military?
Well, the most important thing was service above self, which is the Air Force motto. And he always carried that throughout his work as a veterinarian, as an Air Force officer.
And what message would you like to leave for future generations who would view or hear this interview?
To think of others before yourself. There are too many people that are too focused on themselves, and he always thought of others and the environment.
And before we end, is there anything you feel like we have not discussed or should be added to this interview?
He made quite an impression on the city of Fairborn and community of Greene County, just with his acts of kindness, of thinking of others, of actions, of volunteering, and I think he will always be remembered for that.
Thank you for having this interview with us.
Thank you, Paul.